What is up everyone, it's Saber here and welcome to another Naruto What If you end up liking the video, please consider subscribing. It's free and you can take it back at any time and it really helps me out, and this is my main channel, so if you're interested in what if Naruto was raised by the Joker or what if Naruto had a shape-shifting bloodline and was insane, go check out my main channel. And if you're interested in what if Naruto was taken over by the Kyuubi when he was born, or what if Naruto was trained by Itachi after leaving Jiraiya, go check out my second channel. And with all of the YouTube formalities out of the way, let's get into it. Team 7 was walking down a road in the middle of the forest surrounding Konoha. They had only left said village a few hours ago and had some days of journey ahead of them. Tazuna was walking in the middle of the group with Kakashi walking behind the rest, pretending to read his little orange book while giggling perversely to complete the illusion. He didn't think much was going to happen on this mission, maybe a few thugs, one or two bandits, but nothing his team couldn't handle, but he knew he had to keep an eye out. He was responsible for the safety of his team and he wouldn't let anything happen to them, even if it meant giving his own life in the process. In the front, Sasuke was walking with Sakura, trying to get his attention by trying to start a conversation, but she wasn't very successful. All she got in return was scoffs, and if she were lucky, a couple of HN from didn't matter that much to her. She just kept telling Sasuke of her life, all the things she wanted for the future, and so on. Naruto was walking on the right side of Tazuna while enjoying the day. He was working on the water balloon that Jiraiya gave him, but he hadn't had much luck so far. It would only bent one way, nothing what Jiraiya's balloon had looked like, but he kept trying. He looked over at Sakura and Sasuke now. She even let her fangirlish tendencies disrupt missions. She is supposed to walk on Tazuna Ajisen's left side to guard him. I guess it doesn't matter much right now, this is only a C rank, but I really got to figure a way to get into her head that she got to start taking being a kunoichi serious. If not, she could be killed, or one of us could try to protect her. Absently glancing at their sensei, he noticed the silver-haired Jounin lone visible eye expressed the same feeling observing Sakura's current actions. Eventually the Rosette ran out of things to talk to Sasuke about and turned towards the bridge builder. Tazuna-san, can I ask you about something? Tazuna looked at the little pink-haired girl. What is it? You're from Nami no Kuni, right? She asked curiously. What about it? He asked, just a little irritated. The drunkard was an old man and he wasn't known for his patience. I was just wondering why you didn't use ninja from your own country. Don't you have a village there? It was Kakashi who answered, no, there are no ninja in Nami no Kuni. Some countries are too small, too poor, or simply don't want or need a ninja village. For Nami it's the latter, it's remote and isn't influenced or influencing easily by other countries, so there is no need for a ninja village. If a small country like Nami needs help from shinobi, they get it from a village from another country like Konoha. Tazuna nodded, you're quite right, and left it at that. After that they walked in silence, only interrupted by Sakura trying to get Sasuke to talk again. From time to time they continued like that for a few more hours. They were almost out of the forest when Naruto noticed something. It was a little pool of water in the middle of the road. He frowned. That's odd, it hasn't rained for over 2 weeks. In fact, it has been quite the opposite. There hasn't been more than a few clouds on the heaven and it's been baking hot, and yet here in the middle of the road in a month where the sun has been high in the sky, there is a water puddle. He thought for a few seconds, trying to figure out how it could be. Could it be? He glanced back at Kakashi who subtly nodded without taking his eyes off his book. They continued forward. They passed the puddle without either of Sakura or Sasuke noticing the oddity. When they had passed it by a few meters, it quietly morphed into two cloaked people. Kakashi and Naruto had noticed it but didn't show quickly one of the persons through the other, retracting the kunai chain that was connecting the two through gauntlets. They quickly wrapped Kakashi in it before stopping on each side of him. The rest of the group turned around. Tazuna, Sasuke and Sakura looked shocked while Naruto acted like it, but in reality he knew that Kakashi had a plan. Naruto took a closer look at the two now obvious shinobi and saw their Hatayate's Kirigakure. What are Kirinin doing here? The two Kirinin retracted the kunai chains, slicing what appeared to be Kakashi in half. First one down, the one on the left said. They quickly disappeared in a blur of speed only to reappear behind Naruto. Second one, their chain began to extend out, trying to wrap itself around Naruto. He wouldn't have any of that. He stomped in the ground, making a small wall of crystal appear between him and the Kirinin. They were stunned, and before they could react, a shuriken followed by a kunai impaled their chain on a tree behind them. Sasuke was up in the air going through some hand signs. He took a deep breath before spewing out a large fireball. Katango Kakyu no Jutsu. The Kirinin tried to pull the chain out of the tree but quickly realized that they couldn't. They snapped the chain from their gauntlet and dodged by jumped each their way, but they weren't finished yet. One of them charged towards Sasuke and the other towards Tazuna, both planning to strike their target down with their claw. Sakura quickly got in front of Tazuna with a kunai in her hand. I have to protect him, he is our charge. But how can I do this? She trembled lightly. Stay back, Tazuna-san. Naruto saw this. He wasn't concerned about Sasuke as much as an ass he was. He could take care of himself, but it was another story. With Sakura, this was exactly what he had feared might happen. He saw the Kirinin get closer and closer to the pink-haired Kunoichi and knew he had to do something fast. Quickly he went through hand signs and slapped his hand down on the ground. Shoten Suisho no Ashira. Before the shinobi from Kiri could react, he was shot 7 meters into the air by a crystal pillar that had appeared under him. He narrowed his eyes when he looked down and saw the blonde ninja holding his hand palm on the ground. Naruto smirked. "Your battle is with me." Naruto quickly glanced over at Sasuke before his own battle started. He was doing okay as far as he could see. He were dodging most attacks and quickly japing the counter. He looked back at his own opponent, who was jumping down from the pillar. He looked at Sakura. His eyes were full of fear. He nodded at her with a smile. It seemed to help a little as she tried to smile and nodded back at him. Naruto jumped back to dodge the claw that was slashing at him from above. The Kirinin was glaring at him. Naruto just smirked. "Now you can't expect me to nicely stay in one place. That would just be too easy now, wouldn't it?" He only got a growl in response. The Kirinin began slashing at Naruto, who dodged at each and every time. Naruto jumped back after 30 seconds of that and laughed a bit. "You will have to do better than that." Sasuke heard Naruto laugh and looked over to see how easily he was handling his opponent. It angered him. "Trying to show me up? Are you dope? Not going to work. I'm gonna get my opponent down in no time," he thought as he ducked under yet another strike, only to counter with a kick in the stomach, which pushed his opponent back a meter or two. He charged his opponent and unleashed a flurry of punches and kick from his Uchiha style. However, he was unfocused. This caused him to be left open, not going unnoticed by the Kirinin. He slashed towards Sasuke's not open ribs. Sasuke saw it but couldn't block it. He wasn't fast enough. Just before it hit, a couple of crystals shot up from the ground, blocking the attack. "Team, get your game together. I can't fight both our fights," Naruto yelled, jumping over a strike and kicking his opponent in the face. Sasuke scoffed. In Naruto's fight, he was the clear superior thanks to his hard-earned training plus Erosenin. The longer they fought, the more of an advantage he had. The Kirinin kept slashing at him, exhausting himself like that. Sasuke's were another story. They were close to equals, and it didn't help that Sasuke didn't keep his head cool. He tried to prove himself because of how good Naruto was doing, resulting in him getting bruises here and there but no cuts so far. Naruto winced when his opponent finally got him. He had a scratch across the back of his hand. Naruto decided that he had had enough of it. "Sasuke, throw yours over here." Sasuke looked annoyed by the fact that his blonde teammate was giving him orders but complied. The next time his opponent slashed at him, he grabbed his arms and threw him over at Naruto's opponent. They knocked each other to the ground and Naruto went through a seal's Kesho Purismo. 3 glass-thin red crystals grew out of the ground encasing the Kirinin in a prism, but Naruto didn't stop there. He went through another set of seals before slamming his hand on the red crystal. Shoten Beningu Kasoku. From the sides of the crystal prism, crystal chains shot out wrapping around the 2 enemy shinobi. When it was done, Naruto lowered the prism, only leaving the 2 Kirinin sitting on the ground. Before they could react, Naruto knocked them both out by slamming them on the neck. That's when Kakashi came out of the tree line clapping. "Very good, I'm impressed," he said with a nice smile. Sakura and Sasuke watched him with wide eyes before glancing over where they thought they had seen him getting sliced in half. There were only wood pieces left there, a clear evidence of a kawarimi. Naruto just watched passively. He didn't think there was a way for Kakashi to get taken down by 2 ninja of that caliber. Tazuna scoffed. "Why didn't you help your students? They could have died. I knew I should have asked for some better shinobi," he said, sounding a little bit irritated. Kakashi looked back at him without emotion. "I was standing in the tree line all the time, ready to jump in at any moment if the need should arise." He paused, walking over to the Kirinin, inspecting the crystal chains, loosening them. The Jounin dragged the unconscious duo to the nearest tree. The silver-haired Jounin comments, "Now isn't there something you would like to tell us?" "Those 2 are the demon brothers of Kirigozu and Meizu. They are 2 C-rank missing. Meanwhile, they could have been after one of us, but that is highly unlikely for one reason. These 3," Kakashi gestured towards his team, "are newly graduated ninja. They haven't made their name yet. It's true they could have been after me, but I don't have anything standing with Kiri. Another reason is that we just got assigned to this mission. Not even the Hokage knew we were going to get it before we did so. That only leaves you," Kakashi continued. While tying up the demon brothers, Tazuna gulped. Kakashi ignored it for now and turned towards Naruto. "You can dispel your chains now." Naruto nodded and snapped his fingers, making his chains shatter. While Naruto didn't need to snap, he loved how it looked, but to give him some credit, he was still a 12-year-old ninja or not. Kakashi saw the cut at Naruto's hand. "Naruto, their blades are poison. Don't move too much or the poison will spread." Kakashi turned towards Tazuna. "I'll ask you more directly. Are there any reasons for two missing nin to be after you? Because we haven't heard anything about you being targeted by missing nin. Your request was to protect you from armed groups like thugs or robbers. This is a mission that's above C rank, possibly B rank, borderline A rank. Our mission was to support and guard you until you completed the bridge. If ninja are our enemy, this mission would have been an expensive B or A rank. It looks like you have your reasons, but it only troubles us if you lie in. Your request details this. He gestured to the demon brothers. Wasn't a part of the mission. That's when Sakura spoke up. This mission is out of our league. We may have been able to defeat these guys, but they couldn't have been more than high genin to low chunin level skill wise. If whoever is after you sends stronger shinobi, we will be in trouble. Let's quit. We also need anesthesia to take out the poison blood out of Naruto. We need to go back to the village and see a doctor. In the weeks since they had graduated, Naruto had grown on her some. While she still found him annoying from time to time and she didn't like the way he acted towards Sasuke, she had started to respect him for his skills, something she never thought she would in the academy. No, that's not needed. The group looked at Naruto. Naruto looked at Sakura. Can I borrow a kunai please? She was weary, not knowing what he was going to do, but lent him one as soon as he had it in his hand. He quickly stabbed the back of his hand, forcing a lot of blood out. Sakura gasped. What are you doing, Baka? Naruto shrugged. The mission is still on, Naruto. It's nice that you took out the poison blood and all, but you're going to die from loss of blood if any more comes out, Kakashi said with a carefree voice. Naruto just laughed at the comment as if that could happen. He knew of the Kyuubi's regenerative abilities that he had gotten. He dried off the blood from the kunai and handed it to Sakura. Thanks for lending it to me. He then went on to drying off his hand in the grass before continuing walking down the path. Kakashi soon followed with the rest of the group close behind. He watched the hand and could see it was already healing, so that's what he meant. It must be the Kyuubi's power. He knows more about it than I would have thought. Fortress unknown location failed. I spent a lot of money to hire all of you because I heard you all were skilled ninja. A short man in a business suit said, looking at a larger man who was sitting in a throne like chair. Stop complaining, the man in the chair sneered, swinging a big butcher-like knife at the shorter man just to stop inches from his throat. I'll use this decapitating knife and kill those guys. The shorter man didn't seem to believe he could do it and starting talking in a mocking tone. Do you really think you will be okay? It looks like the enemy has hired good shinobi, and since the demon brothers failed in the assassination, they'll be more cautious, so it won't be easy. Who do you think I am? The sword-wielding person said, not liking the tone the shorter man was speaking to him. And I'm Mochi Zabuza, was called the demon of Kirigakure. The shorter man looked at him, glaring back. Fine, do what you want, but I expect him to be dead. And soon, he said, walking away. Team 7 campsite. Later that night, Naruto was sitting on a hill at the edge of the camp. Kakashi had taken the first watch and he was taking the second. He was sitting reading the book on Fuinjutsu. He almost understood the concept behind the explosion tags, but he knew he couldn't make them yet. The blonde made a note to himself to have his clones work on his handwriting. He wasn't ashamed to say that it sucked. He hadn't really needed it until now. He heard steps behind and looked over his shoulder to see Sakura walking towards him. He turned to his book again. Can't sleep? No, her voice sounded behind him. Hey, aren't you supposed to keep watch? She asked a little accusingly. Naruto didn't answer. Instead, he pointed to places at the edge of the camp. She looked to see a couple of Kage Bunshin. Oh, sorry, no problem. He flipped a page. Why can't you sleep? She hesitated. She didn't really know if she wanted to share this with Naruto. She sighed and sat down a meter beside him. I keep thinking about the battle and then now how tired Sasuke is because of it. I don't know. This time it was Naruto's turn to hesitate. This was the moment. He had waited for the moment. He could try to get her to act more like a kunoichi instead of a fangirl. I have some advice, but I don't know how much you're going to like it. She just looked at him as he continued, you need to get it together. We're shinobi now, we aren't just students. If it had been only you today, Tazuna, and you would have been killed. Sakura frowned. She didn't like it, but he was true. What would you have me do then? Stop being a fangirl, was his tactless, blunt response. I'm not a fangirl. Naruto looked up from his book and gave her a look that said, are you kidding me? She sighed. Okay, maybe just a little bit. Naruto shook his head with an amused grin on his lips. Try to take being a kunoichi more serious. Don't go on diet. You need the energy the food gives you. If you train without it, you will just become skinny, and not the good skinny you want. I mean bad, unhealthy skinny. I don't think Sasuke would like that very much. She blushed like she had just found out her secret crush. And then start training. Stop caring so much about your clothes, hair, and so on. Start focusing on training more. He paused, and for the record, it may even help your chances with Sasuke. It hurt a bit to say that to the girl he had a crush on. Sasuke is attracted to power, so if you become a powerful kunoichi, you may even get him. Sakura nodded. She didn't like everything that was said. She needed to think about it. She rose and started walking back to her tent, but stopped and turned halfway around. Thank you, Naruto. Naruto just lifted his hand and half waved without looking up from his book as to say, No problem, she walked to her tent and tried to get some sleep before her watch was coming up. However, her thoughts lingered some, especially on the new attitude of their blonde teammate. He changed so much since the academy, and ever since learning he has a Kekkei Genkai he has been more responsible. He still acts only a little goofy, but he does not even ask me out on dates anymore. For whatever reason, she felt a ping in her heart from that. He still calls her Sakura-chan, but overall he has acted much more appropriate to her, yet something still mewed at her. I really like this Naruto, but kind of missed the old one a little bit. Early next morning, Team 7 and Tazuna were sailed in a little boat in the thick morning mist. They were sailing from the mainland to the largest island of Nami no Kuni. The boat didn't even have a motor. It was propelled forward by a guy who was slowly paddling, trying to make as little noise as possible. The mist is so thick I can't see anything in it, Sakura stated. No one answered her right away, but Tazuna broke the silence. We should be able to see the bridge soon. If we sail alongside the bridge we should be in Nami no Kuni soon, the paddling guy said, and as if on command the bridge appeared out of the mist. The genin were stunned. It was huge. They had never seen anything like it. Wow, that's unbelievable, Naruto said a little highly, while the other genin nodded in agreement. The paddling guy didn't like it. Hey, be quiet, we're using this boat and hiding in the mist. That's why I'm rowing instead of using an engine. In other words, if we get caught we'll be in serious trouble. Sorry, Naruto said lowly. Kakashi was looking at the old bridge builder. Tazuna-san, before the boat gets to the pier there's something I need to ask you. Tazuna looked like he knew what was coming. Who are the people who are after you, and why are they after you? That or we call the mission when you get ashore and return to Konoha. All the eyes of the Konoha shinobi were on the bridge builder. It looked like I have to tell you the real story. I mean, I would like for you to hear my story. As you said, he nodded towards Sakura. This mission is most likely out of your job description and capabilities. He paused. No one was commenting, just looking at him intensely. An extremely terrible man is after my life. Who is it? Sakura asked. You should have all at least heard of the name marine transportation billionaire Gata. That surprised Kakashi. Gatu, the one from the Gata company. He's one of the richest men on the elemental continent. Tazuna nodded. Yeah, he is the president of the Gata company on the outside, but underground he uses gangs and ninjas to smuggle drugs and contraband goods. He also does nasty jobs like takeovers of other companies in small countries, and 1 year ago he set his sight on Nami no Kuni. He entered this country using violence and wealth as his shield, and he quickly took over the island's sea traffic and transportation. Of course, Naruto said, bringing all eyes on him. Of course, what? Dobe Sasuke asked, irritated that Naruto apparently figured something out before him. If you wanted to take over a country like Nami, what would be the first thing you were going to do? Neither Sakura nor Sasuke answered him. Take over the shipping industry. If you control that, you control everything in a country like this. They use the shipping industry to get things from the mainland to transport stuff between the islands, and so on. In a country like Nami, controlling the sea means ruling over the wealth, politics, and the people. By taking over the shipping industry you effectively control close to everything in a country like this. Sakura was wide-eyed. He actually paid attention. I thought he slept through the studies. You're quite right. Tazuna nodded in agreement. And the one thing Gata fears is the completion of my bridge, which has been under construction for quite some time. Sakura seemed to catch on. I see. So you as the one building the bridge, it became an obstacle to him then. Those ninjas were sent by Gata, Sasuke concluded. Kakashi turned back to look at Tazuna. But what I don't understand is this. He's a dangerous man that uses shinobi. Why did you hide that fact? When you came to us it wasn't him that answered, but Naruto. Isn't it obvious? Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi looked questioning at Naruto. Gatu has taken over the economy of this place, so the people here can't have much money to begin with, and then add the fact that they are building the bridge, they have even less. I'm guessing they didn't have enough money to pay for a higher ranking mission. But if you ask me, Sandangiji would probably have made a deal with you guys, though you wouldn't know that. You're right again. Nami no Kuni is a really poor country. Even the feudal lord doesn't have much money. We don't have the money to request for an expensive B rank or above mission. If you quit your mission after I land, I'll be killed for sure. While I go home, he paused, but there's no need for you to blame yourselves. Only my cute 8-year-old grandson will cry and cry and cry some more. Naruto got a feeling he knew where this was going. And my daughter will hold a grudge against Konoha and its shinobi and live a lonely life. He paused again, looking around at the sweat-dropped faces of the Konoha nin. But it's not your fault. Kakashi seemed to be thinking for a second. I guess it can't be helped then. We will continue to escort you. That's good too. Here it hadn't been much longer after that conversation before they had seen shore. Now they were walking down one of the many paths in Nami no Kuni to Tazuna's home. Team 7 was on guard now that they knew what they were up, knew that Gata probably would send stronger shinobi next time. They were walking cautiously down one of the many roads in wave. They were surrounding Tazuna, Kakashi taking the rear, Naruto taking the front, and Sasuke and Sakura taking the flank. Suddenly Naruto conjured a couple of shuriken and threw them into some bushes. The rest of the team stopped in their tracks holding their kunai in defensive positions. They kept their guard up. Then Naruto blinked a few times. Sorry, I thought I heard something over there. You're such a dope, Sasuke said, putting his kunai down. His kunai holder again. Kakashi nodded at Naruto before heading over to the moved it away, finding a dead white-furred bunny. The Jounin frowned. That's a snow rabbit. But what's with the color of its fur? They only have white fur during winter when the days are short. He looked around the tree line trying to spot anyone close by. That means it is a rabbit that was raised inside a place where the sun isn't a factor. Highly likely for the Kawarimi no Jutsu. He kept looking around, not going unnoticed by Naruto and Sasuke. Sasuke had been shown up by Naruto more than he liked in the past few days. They readied themselves. Kakashi spotted a sliver of silver in the corner of his eye. Everyone get down. A big butcher like sword were flying like a deadly frisbee through the air heading towards where Tazuna was standing. Naruto took action first, grabbing Tazuna's sleeve and ducked, forcing the old man with him. Sasuke wasn't far behind, grabbing Sakura's wrist. The sword flew over their heads by mere centimeters before hitting and embedding itself in a tree behind them. A man appeared on the handle of the sword. Sharingan no Kakashi. I see shinobi on the level of the demon brothers. Couldn't have handled you. The man looked over the Konohanin. Kakashi stepped forward. That may very well be, but it wasn't me who took them down, it was my team. He looked the man over. Sasuke meanwhile reacted on the Sharingan part. Kakashi-sensei has the Sharingan, but I thought only members of my clan had it. He frowned, then smiled a bit. As much as Sasuke can smile anyway, I guess I can learn a thing or two from him. After all, Momochi Zabuza, also known as the Demon of the Hidden Mist, current status missing, Nin forced into hiding after an unsuccessful coup d'etat against the Yonde Mizuki. Kakashi looked back at his team. Stay back, you'll only get in the way. Sasuke scoffed at that. Why, we took the demon brothers down pretty easy. Now it was Naruto's turn to scoff. Sasuke turned towards him. Do you have something to say? Yeah, the demon brothers must have hit your head pretty hard. The demon brothers were high genin to low chunin level. Momochi Zabuza, on the other hand, is at low to mid jounin level. We wouldn't stand a chance. The only one on our team who has a chance is Kakashi-sensei, and the best teamwork we can offer him right now is stay out of his way. Naruto was so glad he had talked Gigi into giving him one of the bingo books. He had memorized it so he would know when to fight and when to run. Sasuke just scoffed. Kakashi nodded approvingly back at Naruto. Now we can do this in one of two ways. One, you simply hand over the old man and I let you go without a scratch. Zabuza's voice sounded. Then he smirked, jumping down from his spot on the sword, taking it with him. Down. Or two, you refuse and I kill you all before you can count to 5. He finished, getting into his battle stance. Kakashi looked seriously at Zabuza. If he is our enemy. Kakashi moved his hand up towards his Itaite, pulling it up slightly. I can't afford to hold back. He pushed the Itaite the rest of the way up, exposing his left eye. The Sharingan. He turned his face slightly to see his team. Out of the corner of his eye, everyone formed the triangle formation. Protect Tazuna-san. The 3 genin were fast taking the position. Tazuna in the middle with the 3 genin standing around. Sakura and Sasuke having regular kunai up in front of them, and Naruto having a crystal version. Oh, I'm honored I get to see the famous Sharingan right off the bat. This will be interesting, he continued while a thick mist was forming. But let's cut the chit-chat now. He vanished in a blur of speed before reappearing on top of a lake. The 3 genin were surprised and impressed by the speed, but it quickly turned into fear. They realized they didn't have chance whatsoever against him. Zabuza stood with half the ram sign in front of his chest while his other arm was pointing up. The water under him started to make small waves while water particles swirled around him. He's putting a lot of chakra into the water. Kakashi noticed. He brought up his kunai ready to charge. He didn't make it before Zabuza casted his jutsu. Kirigakure no Jutsu. The mist peaked. Team 7 couldn't see 3 feet in front of them. The genin couldn't see Kakashi anymore and tightened up their stance. 8 points. It sounded from everywhere and nowhere. The larynx, spine, lungs, liver, jugular vein, collarbone, kidney, and the heart. 8 points. I need to strike once and you're dead. The genin shuddered. Now how do you wish to die? Kakashi, also hearing this, summoned a bunch of chakra, making a small shockwave, effectively pushing away the mist just around him, and his team. Sasuke was frozen in fear. What an intense thirst for blood. One breathing motion or one eye movement will be detected and it'll get me killed. What an atmosphere. If I stay here much longer I'll go insane. Sasuke started trembling. Now Sasuke. Kakashi's voice sounded. Don't worry, I'll protect the 3 of you with my life. I won't let anyone on my team die, he said with an eye smile. I wonder about that. Kakashi. Zabuza's voice sounded again right before he appeared in between the 3 genin. Kakashi reacted fast, charging at Zabuza, pushing him back. Zabuza was wide-eyed. The fight begins now, Kakashi said, slashing at Zabuza with impressive speed. The missing Nin simply jumped back, dodging the slash before he had landed. Kakashi brought up 3 more kunai, casting them towards Zabuza. He dodged one, but the others hit their marks on dead center in the forehead and 2 in the chest. Zabuza was standing still before beginning to leak water. That's when another figure appeared behind With a slashing motion, Sensei, watch out. Behind you, Sakura yelled, but too late. Kakashi was cut in half. The time seemed to slow down for the genin before what they had thought to be Kakashi to burst into water. Zabuza looked wide-eyed. He copied my jutsu. I didn't even see him make the hand signs. Kakashi appeared behind Zabuza holding up a kunai close to his throat. Zabuza sliced his sword towards Kakashi, who quickly blocked with his kunai. He hadn't expected the force though, and was forced out on the lake. Zabuza was close behind, standing a couple of meters away facing his opponent. I must say you live up to your nickname, Copy Ninja Kakashi. I am impressed, and I'm not easily impressed, Zabuza voiced, but now we're in my element. He started making hand signs. Kakashi did the same signs at the exact same moment. When they were through with the signs, both of them yelled Suiton Suryuden no Jutsu. Two great dragons shaped out of water morphed out of the waters, heading for the other. They collided with great force that caused a shockwave. The two jounin guarded themselves. Zabuza looked in shock at his opponent. How did he do that? He didn't simply copy my jutsu, he used at the exact same time. Could he be reading my mind? It came from Kakashi. Zabuza looked even more shocked than more, but quickly reined it. And I don't know what you did, but it ends here. Zabuza charged again, closing and forcing the two shinobi to use taijutsu. Zabuza sliced at his opponent, but Kakashi blocked with his kunai. Zabuza frowned, putting more force into it. He won the struggle, forcing Kakashi underwater. Kakashi quickly swam to the surface again. What the matter with this water? It's so heavy, he thought while climbing up on the surface again. Zabuza grinned at that. I'm afraid you've fallen into my trap, Kakashi. He appeared behind the half-submerged Kakashi and went through some hand signs again. Suiro no Jutsu. Kakashi looked back at Zabuza, who were standing with a hand extended towards him. Shit, the water quickly formed a sphere around him and Zabuza's hand. I thought I could use the water as cover, but it turned out to be a mistake on my part, Kakashi thought while trying to think of a way to get out of the water prison. Zabuza laughed. I told you this was my element. You give me a hard time when you're moving, but now that won't be a problem. He looked over at Tazuna and Team 7. Now then, Kakashi, I'm going to finish you off later. First, I'm going to get rid of them. He made a hand sign. Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu. A water clone appeared back at Tazuna. Team 7 was staring wide-eyed in fear. Kakashi had been captured. They were all trying to figure a way out of this mess. They knew they couldn't handle a Jounin level ninja. Their only chance was to find a way to release Kakashi from the water prison. Naruto leaned towards Sasuke. Try to distract him. I have a plan that may work. Sasuke stared back at his teammate for a moment before nodding. Sasuke faced the water clone again. He began casting a barrage of kunai and shuriken, but to no avail. The clone simply dodged and blocked them. Sasuke summoned a Fuma shuriken, casting it hoping it would buy him just a bit of time, and then went through the hand signs for his clan's Katan Jutsu. He took a deep breath and breathed out a large fireball. Katan Gokakyu no Jutsu. The clone was surprised that a genin could use such an advanced jutsu, but again dodged it with ease. Sasuke was starting to pant slightly. The jutsu had taken a good portion of his chakra, and he hadn't recovered fully from the encounter with the demon brothers. Dobai, hope you're done soon. I can't hold him off much longer. Naruto nodded. Hi, just give me a few more seconds. Team, he needed a lot of chakra for this jutsu. While he had monster reserves, it wasn't easy to summon a huge amount at once. There he made hand seal Shoten Kesho Gakakuro. The ground under the clone and the water under Kakashi's water prison glowed brightly pink before they were encased in crystal. Naruto concentrated and made the ram seal Funsai. The clone shattered into 1,000 pieces, and so did the prison, leaving Kakashi free, who jumped back to get clear of Zabuza's range. He was impressed with Naruto. He guessed it wasn't easy to crystallize some, but not all of something like his water prison. Zabuza was shocked. He looked over at the blonde genin who were looking intensely back at him. He turned to Kakashi and asked a simple question. How? Kakashi looked at Zabuza and quickly glanced over at Shino before making eye contact again. The blonde genin on team he possessed Shoten. A look of surprise spread across Zabuza's face. Shoten, I haven't even heard about it before. Now he looked at Naruto again. Kakashi then turned serious once again, but now this really must end. Zabuza began making hand signs. Kakashi following. Just before Zabuza was done, Kakashi cried Suiton Daibakufu no Jutsu. Zabuza was wide-eyed. This time he didn't do it at the same time as me. He did it before me. Water began encircling around Kakashi. Before shooting towards Zabuza, there was too much to be able to dodge. He was slammed away by the great mass of water. It slammed him through multiple trees before pinning him to one. Before he could look around, 3 kunai flew towards him, impaling him in different spots. Kakashi jumped and stood on a branch of the tree while the water resided. Zabuza was panting heavily. Now the water had really roughed him up. He looked down on the ground. Can you see the future? He asked. Kakashi said. Person looked down at him. Yeah, and I tell you what I can see. He brought up another kunai. You're going to die. He jumped down and was just about to strike when his senses told him to jump. Away did so only to see 3 Senbon needles hitting Zabuza in the neck. His eyes rolled back in the head and his body fell to the ground. Lifeless Kakashi and Team 7 were stunned. They looked back to where the Senbon needles had come from. They saw a boy not much older than themselves standing. He has a mask over his face. It was true, he did die. Kakashi jumped over to where Zabuza's apparent body was, checking for any life signs. He didn't find any. He really is dead. He looked back at boy who had killed his opponent. The boy bowed slightly. Thank you very much. I was looking for a chance to kill Zabuza. That mask, if I remember correctly, you must be a Hunter from Kirigakure. Kakashi said. The boy stood up straight again. You are well informed. Sharingan Kakashi. He paused for a moment before continuing. Yes, I am a member of the pursuing shinobi unit that hunts missing nin. Kakashi looked analyzing on the Hunter nin. Judging from his height and voice, he must not be that older than Sasuke and the others, yet he is a Hunter nin. He looked over him again. He's no ordinary kid. The Hunter nin shined over to Zabuza's corpse, taking its arm across his neck, effectively carrying it. Your battle ends here for now. I must go dispose of this corpse. It's a body filled with secrets. If you'll excuse me, he finished, then shined away. Kakashi, looking at where the Hunter nin had been pushed down, his Hataye covering his Sharingan again. He turned towards his team and Tazuna. Our mission hasn't ended yet. We need to escort Tazuna-san to his house. The genin nodded. Tazuna grinned. Sorry about that. Everyone just rest at my house. The shinobi just sweat dropped at Tazuna's carefree attitude. No more than 2 minutes ago was he close to dying, and there he is standing grinning. Sasuke thought. He sighed deeply. Okay, let's go everyone, Kakashi said, stating to head down the road. He hadn't gone more than a few steps when he collapsed. His team was beside him quickly, with Sakura examining him. He looks okay. I can't be sure though. She turned towards Tazuna. How long is there to your house? Tazuna looked down on Kakashi. It's just up the road. Shouldn't be more than half an hour away by now. Sakura nodded. At that time skip, Kakashi's visible eye fluttered open. He was looking up at a wooden ceiling. I used the Sharingan too much. At least we beat Zabuza. Oi sensei, you're awake. Kakashi rolled his head and looked over at his blonde genin, sitting cross-legged beside him. I'll tell the boss, Naruto said before puffing away in smoke. Kakashi raised his eyebrow. He was a shadow clone, so that's how he's done it. It didn't take long before he could hear footsteps out in the hallway along with Dobe. How can you know he's awake? You have been with us all along. From what sounded like Sasuke. Just trust me on this one. Team Naruto said. Naruto Baka, stop calling Sasuke things like that. It came from Sakura. Then the door slid open. See, I told you he was awake, the blonde genin said with a big smile. Sakura rolled her eyes and made her way over to where Kakashi was laying. It's good to see her awake again. She paused while she sat down beside him. The Sharingan really is amazing, but it puts a lot of strain on the body. I'm not sure if it's good or bad. No, Naruto said while making his way to the other side of the futon. It's because it isn't Kakashi-sensei's Sharingan. Only the members of the Uchiha clan can get it. I'm guessing you had it transplanted. And by what I saw, it was when you were quite young. The other looked at him like he was crazy. While they had slowly started to accept that Naruto actually knew stuff, it was still surprising that he could estimate when Kakashi had his eye transplanted just by looking at it once. It had also caught Sasuke's attention since it was his Kekkei Genkai. The subject was one. Naruto continued. Normally the Sharingan, or the Byakugan for that matter, doesn't take that much chakra or do so much strain on the body, but I'm guessing because it isn't a part of his body, it takes much more. People with Kekkei Genkai are normally born with bodies adapted to it, as the Uchiha clan, who hasn't the biggest chakra reserves but very precise chakra control. This is so they can control the flow in and out of their eyes more precisely and better control their Sharingan. Kakashi nodded affirmative on what Naruto said. He is right, it does strain my body much more than it would on any Uchiha. By the way, how long have I been out? While Naruto had talked to Tazuna, and Tsunami, Tazuna's daughter, had made his way. And you shouldn't worry about your brats, they carried you here about 2 hours ago. Tazuna paused. And at least you beat that creepy Kari shinobi, or the masked kid did anyway. Sakura turned back to Kakashi. Ano-sensei, who are the Hunter nins? Kakashi laid his head back down and closed his eye to rest. To say the Sharingan had strained his body was a great understatement. Sakura was almost beginning to think that he wouldn't answer when he spoke up. The Hunter nins are a special department from the village's ANBU. They are also known as the Fire Extinguishing Unit, and their job is to erase any evidence that a shinobi was alive. A shinobi's body will give away the secret of their jutsu if said shinobi had a special chakra type and any specific medicine that was used on the body, along with various other things. He paused and opened his eye to look around on the audience. For example, if I died, the secrets of the Sharingan would be examined, or if Naruto died, his Shoton would be studied, and possibly copied. He looked at Naruto. When he said his name, Naruto got shivers up his spine. It's kind of creepy and disgusting that another village would examine my body from top to toe just to find out about my shoton. In other words, Kakashi continued, hunter nins will kill missing nins who have abandoned their village and dispose of the shinobi's body to keep the village's secrets in the village. He looked over the people in the room. They were all nodding understandingly. That is all except Naruto, who was frowning. What is it, Naruto-sensei? Isn't Senbon needles an odd choice of weapon for a hunter nin? I mean, they are small and precise, but it's pretty hard to kill anyone unless you hit exactly on some specific nerves. Now Kakashi was frowning too. Yes, that is odd. And then Naruto continued, there's also the fact that the boy took the body with him. If a hunter nin is supposed to erase all evidence of a shinobi, why would they take the body with them? Wouldn't it just be easier to do it where the body is? It could be because we were there, but it just seems like something is adding up. You're right, all he had to bring back as proof was Zabuza's head. Kakashi said. Sasuke, who had been silent until now, thought about everything they had been told. Nothing adds up. Why did the hunter nin use Senbon needles when it's so hard to kill with, and why did he take the body if all he needed was to take the head and burn the rest to crisp? Sasuke kept thinking over what he had been told, trying to see underneath. That's when his eyes widened. No, it can't be. What are you people talking about? Tazuna asked, not a little bit irritated. Father, I'm sure they will get to it. Tsunami scolded. Kakashi looked lazily at the two civilians. Zabuza isn't dead. He is in fact very much alive. What? The two civilians and the pink-haired kunoichi were all but stunned. What do you mean, sensei? You yourself confirmed that he was dead as in not alive. Sakura screeched. Kakashi looked at Sakura. It's right, I did confirm it. Then how is he alive? She asked. Senbon needles, Naruto said with a look that said, why didn't I think of that before? All eyes were on him now. It's because he used Senbon needles. As I said, you need to be very precise. When you want to make a kill with them, you have to hit the right nerves to kill, but there's also nerves that put you into a stasis, which makes you appear dead. You're literally put in a near-death state until someone pulls the needles out. Hunter nin studies the structure of the human body to the extreme, many times more than the average medic. The Cyclops Jounin said that's needed to make the kill fast and precise, and to be able to dispose of all the parts. It would be easy for them to put a person into a near-death state. He breathed deeply. I think it's safe to assume that the hunter nin wasn't who he said he was. First, he took home the apparent corpse of Zabuza even when it was obvious that the body was much heavier than him. Second, he used a weapon that has a low fatality rate. From these 2 points, it's clear that the goal of that boy wasn't to kill Zabuza but to help him. Excuse me, Kakashi-san, but maybe you're overthinking this a bit, Tsunami said with a doubting look on her face. You're quite right, I am overthinking this, but that's a shinobi's job to look underneath. The shinobi world is filled with lies and deceptions, so you need to think of every possible result and expect the worst. It keeps you alive. It's one of things the academy students learn first. It's the iron rule of the shinobi. Sakura looked a little worried. Sensei, how are we supposed to prepare for this? It doesn't really look like you will be able to move for a while, and couldn't Zabuza drop in at any moment? Kakashi shook his head. No, he won't be in a near-death state like he was. He won't be able to move completely for about a week, and by then I should be able to move too. Sakura nodded. Still, we still have to prepare, and how are we going to do that when you're cooped up in here? How? Even if I can't move around too much, I can still train you for the next week. We're going to get you 3 prepared by training. I can probably take on Zabuza again, but you will need to keep his little friend off my hands. He can't be much older than you, but he is already that talented. We can't underestimate him. Wait, you can't expect us to take on another shinobi of that caliber? We just graduated from the academy. How are we supposed to beat another shinobi? Sakura, who was it that took down the demon brothers and who helped me get free when I was trapped? She glanced over at her teammates. That's right, and don't forget yourself. You may not have fought, but you stood your guard to protect our charge. You 3 are growing at a rapid rate. If I train you for a week, you should have more than a chance of beating that kid. There's no way you can beat them. It came from a gloomy voice in the doorway. They all turned around to see a little boy not much older than 7 or 8 years old. You will just die. Inari, where have you been? I've missed you so much. A loving voice sounded. Team 7 looked around before they were shocked to find out it came from Tazuna. Inari ran over to his grandfather and hugging him. You're home, Ji-chan. I've missed you too, Inari. They have escorted your grandpa all the way from Konoha, and they will be staying with us until the bridge have been built. They will be helping us. Tsunami scolded. Inari looked at the foreign shinobi. Kaha-chan, they're all going to die. There's no way anyone can stand up to Gato and live. This caused glares from Sakura and Naruto. PFT, how dare he? Doesn't even know what we're capable of. Naruto glanced at Tazuna. I guess being an ass runs in the family, he thought, remembering how Tazuna had reacted first time he saw them. Inari started To walk away. If you don't want to die you should go home, no one can stop Gato. And with that said he disappeared out the door. Tazuna looked down the floor with a solemn look. I'm sorry for that. Team 7 was once again shocked. Not only had Tazuna spoken with love to the little brat that had insulted them, he was sad. Now there was much more to Tazuna than they knew. Kakashi waved with his hand. No problem now team, we will take today to rest from the journey. Tomorrow we will start the training. Elsewhere in the middle of an unknown forest, the young fake hunter Nin was squatting beside Zabuza's body, slowly unfolding a leather roll with various medical tools. He turned to look at Zabuza, trying to find any damage that may have been done other than scratches here and there. The only problem right now was the long needles in his neck. He looked, analyzing in the area where he had hit him with the needles. It seems I have to cut the clothes off his mouth first and make him cough up the blood. First he took a scissor-like tool from the scroll and slowly closed in on the clothes. When his hand was no more than a few centimeters from the target, Zabuza's hand shot up and grabbed the fake hunter Nin's. I can do that on my own, thank you very much. It came from Zabuza as he slowly opened his eyes and began to peel the cloth wrap off. Oh, the boy said, you're already awake. He didn't sound surprised by a long shot. Zabuza grunted as he sat up. Geez, you're so rough, he said as he began picking out the needles harshly. This caused a gasp from the young boy, who frowned under the mask. I could say the same thing about you, Zabuza-san. If you keep picking those out like that, you're just going to damage a blood vessel, then you're going to bleed out and die for real. Zabuza didn't seem to care as he continued to pick out the last of the needles. He sat silently for a second before turning his gaze on the young boy. How long are you going to wear that fake mask? It's not needed here, so take it off. Haku. Sorry, I forgot. It's been a while since I have needed to use this, the boy said, beginning to lodge off the mask from his face, though it did help pull off the act and fool the shinobi from Konoha. If I didn't intervene when I did, you would have been killed for sure. He finished. His mask was off. His face didn't look like a boy's face. The curves were very soft and the skin fair, and his expression just shouted, I couldn't hurt a fly if I wanted to, though Zabuza knew that it wasn't true. That may very well be, but you didn't need to attack my neck. If you wanted to put me into a fake death, you're still that same wicked girl I picked up all those years ago. Haku smiled. That may very well be true, but I couldn't help it. I didn't want to scar your beautiful body, Zabuza-san. Also, it's much easier to aim at the neck since it has much less muscle tissue. Zabuza tried to stand up, but only made it halfway up before falling on his butt. Haku made her way over to help him. You won't be able to move for a week or so, but knowing you, that will not get in your way, Zabuza-san. Zabuza sat still for a few more moments, catching his breath again. You're pure clever and not tainted at all. He paused for a moment, looking over at his student. That's what I like about you. Haku blushed. Well, I am still a child. She looked over the area, noticing that the fog was lifting. The fog is lifting. We should probably make our way back. Zabuza nodded affirmative as Haku paused. She turned a concerned look at him. Will you be okay next time? Zabuza sighed. I really don't know. I know I could take the Sharingan on one-on-one, but they also have a Shoton user. We have no idea what he can do. He broke my clone and water prison with only little preparation given. I hadn't pumped as much chakra into it as I normally would have, but still. He looked at Haku's concerned face. I need you to train to take him on. I don't think he will be an easy opponent, not even for your Hayaton. Haku nodded. Anything for you, Zabuza-san. She helped him up and they started walking towards their hideout to recuperate. Later that night, Tazuna, Tsunami, and Team 7 had just eaten dinner made by Tsunami. Inari hadn't come down after he had said hello to his grandfather. He had been in his room watching the ocean. According to Tsunami, Naruto leaned back and patted on his stomach. Ah, that was really something. Not as good as a Chiraku's ramen, but good nonetheless, he said with a pleased smile on his lips. Thank you, I guess Tsunami said. You should, Sakura said, taking another bite of the fish. He rarely compares anything to ramen, not to mention Ichiraku's ramen. While they had been a team, Sakura had learned a thing or two about Naruto. He was a trainaholic. He actually had a head on his shoulders, and he loved ramen. On more than one occasion had he called it the god's gift to man. I'm honored. Then Tsunami said with a blush. Naruto stretched his body and yawned loudly. Well, I think I'm going to hit the rack. See you all tomorrow, he said, walking out the kitchen. He walked up the stairs and heading for his room when he heard something from Inari's room. Slowly he opened the door to a crack to see what was going on inside. Inari was sitting in the windowsill. He was looking out at the ocean, but that was not all. As far as Naruto could see, he was holding a picture. Then he heard sobs from Inari, who were pressing the picture frame further into his hug. Tusan, it came half smothered from Inari. Naruto was looking with compassion. I guess he lost his father, and I'll bet a year's supply of ramen that it was Gato who killed him. Naruto closed the door quietly, making sure Inari didn't hear him, and made his way to his room. The next morning, the three genin of Team 7 were standing in front of their sensei, which had climbed out of bed with crutches this morning. They were standing in a forest clearing not long from Tazuna's house. Tazuna had agreed to wait with continuing the bridge till the next day so Kakashi could get his team started on the training regime. Kakashi looked over his team. They were all looking back at him determinedly. Even Sakura, he took an extra look at her. What has come over her? She normally just looks and adores Sasuke. Oh well, it can't be. Batty coughed in his hand to clear his throat. Well then, let's get started. We're going to work on your chakra these next days. Sasuke and Sakura looked disappointed while Naruto looked indifferent. Sasuke was the first to speak. Chakra, we can already use chakra and form jutsu. Let's just get on with it. Yeah, I agree, Sakura said. Naruto looked at her with an "are you kidding me" look. She always agreed with Sasuke. She didn't have to voice it. Kakashi shook his head. No, you may be able to use chakra, but you have far from mastered it. Now for today's exercise we're going to the Genin looked at him with high expectations. Climb trees. And once again Sakura and Sasuke were dumbstruck. This time it was Sakura who voiced her opinion. Climb trees. How are climbing trees going to help us with our chakra control, or help us at all for that matter? Like this, Naruto said, going over to a tree, only stopping for a second to concentrate his chakra before stepping onto the wood and beginning to walk vertically up the tree. Kakashi nodded. That's right, I see you've already mastered it. Care to explain to your teammates what you're doing? Sasuke were glaring at Naruto. How much ahead of me have you come since the academy? What am I talking about? He isn't ahead of me, he just knows an exercise that I don't. He can't be ahead of me. He is a clan-less loser and I'm the heir to the strongest clan in Konoha. Yeah, that's right, Naruto shrugged. It's pretty easy when you get the hang of it, he said, walking up below a branch and hang with his head down, proving his point. All you need to do is mold and concentrate your chakra below your feet, creating a suction effect to keep you on the surface you want to climb. But you really should watch out. If you build up too much chakra in your feet, it's just going to blast you off. And if you do the opposite, not building up enough, you won't get the suctions effect and you will just fall off. Very good, Naruto. As to why this is going to help you in the long run, Sakura, when you fight an opponent, what is one of the most basic skills a ninja uses? Kakashi looked at the pink head. I guess ninjutsu. Sakura answered tentatively. That's right. And what do you need to use ninjutsu? Kakashi continued. Chakra, the girl answered, realization covering her face. Right again. So by doing this exercise your chakra control and therefore your chakra utilization skills will improve, and you will be able to use more ninjutsu. The Jounin finished the explanation. He looked at the two grounded Genin to see if they had understood. Sasuke looked pissed. Kakashi, thinking it was highly likely because of Naruto, which caused him to look at said member of Team 7 and sweat dropped. Now you're just showing off. Naruto was currently swinging back and forth, whistling, only connected to the tree by 1 foot. Kakashi cleared his throat, getting the attention. Man, Naruto, mind coming down now. Naruto grinned, releasing the chakra in his foot, causing him to fall to the ground at high speed. Sakura gasped, but it really wasn't needed. Naruto simply flipped halfway down, landing with a quiet thud on the ground. No problem, he said, still holding the same grin. So does that mean I can go on ahead with my own training? Naruto hadn't had a chance to really train the last few days for obvious reasons. He wanted to progress that water balloon exercise, and he also had to do practice some in his calligraphy. He had never thought that it would be a big part of his shinobi career to write, at least not until he became the Hokage. Other than the mission reports here and there, and he never imagined to take it to such a high level. But if he wanted to get better at Fuinjutsu, he needed to learn to write fast and precise, else all his knowledge about seals would be for nothing. And maybe he could also get started on that water walking exercise. He had wanted to start on that for ages. Who wouldn't want to walk on water, but had waited till he was advanced enough in the tree climbing. Finally, when they had gotten this mission, so he hadn't gotten started yet. And then there was the matter of keeping his training method a secret. Naruto gulped. Sandangiji told me that he would have me get all the missions involving Tora until I took over the Hokage hat myself. If I ever exposed it to someone not meant to see it. The silver-haired Jounin glanced over his blonde student before shrugging. I guess it won't be a problem, but since you already know the 3 climbing and has mastered as far as I can see, I will assign you to guard duty tomorrow. Naruto's eyes narrowed. You're just assigning me to guard duty so that you can stay in bed all day and read Erosenen's perverted books, aren't you? Kakashi waved his hand in a dismissive motion, laughing nervously. Now where would you have gotten that idea? Off to train you go. He finished, hoping that the prospect of training was more exciting than exposing him as a pervert for the rest of the team. Naruto stood still for a few more moments before sighing in a defeated manner and ran into the forest to find a clearing he could use for training. As soon as Naruto was away, Kakashi turned to the remainder of his team and started them on their training. Next morning at the bridge, Naruto was sitting on the railing of the bridge taking a break from his water balloon, was looking over the bridge. It had been a slow day really. Tazuna had told him to get up around 4 a.m. as they were needed at the bridge at 5. Naruto, not wanting to miss out on any training, had made a clone with 3 quarters of his chakra and send it to the forest clearing he had trained in yesterday. It had chakra to about 70 clones, but he was only making 30 or so, the reason being that they were on a mission where they could engage in battle against foreign shinobi at any moment, so it wouldn't do that he was totally exhausted. If that happened, they had been the first to arrive, with 20 or so workers slowly filing in as the time got closer and closer to 6 a.m. as they were about to start. One of the workers had asked where the shinobi guarding them were, to which Tazuna had pointed on Naruto. This caused disgruntled looks from almost all the workers, and one even had the nerve of calling him a short brat. Tazuna had smirked since he had come to know Naruto just a little bit the past few days, and as he had, though Naruto had showed the worker what he could do, almost fully surrounding him with crystal before 3 razor-sharp blades had shot out, and were inches from slicing him. This, of course, had closed the mouth of any and all the workers, who quickly went to work, not wanting to get on the bad side of their guard. Naruto sighed. He was developing a little temper when it came to his height. He looked down beside him. There were broken water balloons, not shattered at all, they were just punctured, but he was happy it was progress. He had made the breakthrough yesterday when one of his clones had sat down and analyzed what they had seen Jiraiya do a couple of days earlier and had realized that what they were doing looked completely different. That's when he had gotten the idea to swirl the water in more than one direction. It had been a success, but it was still damn hard. Agaki, are you bored or what? Tazuna's voice sounded, bringing Naruto back to the bridge. Huh, no, not really, I was just taking a break from my training, Naruto answered, leaning back with closed and enjoying the sun on his face. Tazuna frowned. Training? You're just playing with water balloons. Naruto chuckled internally. He had figured that the way Tazuna showed curiosity were by insulting when talking to strangers anyway. Naruto shook his head to answer Tazuna and made eye contact with him. It's a bit harder than that. I have to burst it open with nothing but my chakra. It's a lot harder than it looks, you know. I don't know, may I have a word with you? Tazuna, a voice from behind them interrupted. Both of them looked at the newcomer. Tazuna put down the little log he had been carrying. Sure thing, Jichi, is something wrong? Well, I have thought a lot about it and I think I'm going to quit building the bridge, Jichi said, looking down on the ground as if ashamed. Not going unnoticed by Naruto. What, not you too, Jichi? Why the sudden change of mind? Tazuna asked, surprised and a little outraged. Tazuna, I have known you for a long time and you have become a good friend. I want to help, but if I get much more involved in this, Gato will after me, and when he's done with you I have to think on the wife and the kids, you know. Jichi replied. Naruto could see that he was really split in this decision, but he had finally valued his family more. Naruto couldn't blame him. It was something Naruto longed after. He longed after getting a father and mother, or just knowing who they were. Naruto respected the man's decision. Tazuna didn't look that convinced. Jichi continued, I want to build the bridge and save Nami as much as the next islander, but everything will lose meaning if you die. Naruto cocked an eyebrow, so he is also concerned for his old friend. I like that guy. Jichi almost looked pleadingly at Tazuna. Why don't we stop building the bridge? Naruto was to say the least shocked. He hadn't expected the man to suggest that, not after all he had learned Tazuna had done for it to be built, including lying his ass off to the Hokage, one of the mightiest persons on the elemental continents. Tazuna had regained his calm look and answered, just as calm, you know I can't do that. This bridge is our bridge, not just yours or mine or the workers' bridge, but the bridge of all the islanders of Nami no Kuni. This is the bridge built on the hopes of the people, the hope that we can break free from Gata's rule, that we can increase our distribution and transportation, that will increase the wealth in this poor country. But if we die, Tazuna interrupted, people will know that Tazuna the bridge builder died for what he believed in, that he died in the hopes that someone would take over his work, that he died believing that Nami no Kuni will break free from Gato, if not by his own hands then by the hands of his successor. He put a hand on his old friend's shoulder. I can't ask you to do it, but I will continue to build this bridge until my dying breath. I don't blame you. If you don't want to risk your family, you can go home if you want. Jichi looked sad at his old friend before giving up, convincing him with a sigh. He took off his uniform and the tools he had used and gave it to Tazuna. I'm sorry, old friend, and with that he left the bridge. Tazuna stood there for a while just staring at where his old friend had left. He didn't even hear the steps behind him and only noticed the person when he took the uniform and tools of his hands. He turned around to see his blonde guard putting on the uniform. He gave the kid a questioning look. I thought you said you shouldn't overwork yourself. Naruto grinned back at the old man. How can I sit still and not help after you gave that speech? You have gotten a little more respect in my eyes, Ajisen, but only a little. Tazuna grinned back at the kid. He had come to like him. He was lively and didn't give up. Thanks, kid. I'm sure it will help. I just hope there are no more workers who quit just now. We're almost done with the bridge, 1.5 to 2 weeks more, but just like Jichi, people won't risk their families, I guess, Naruto said, bringing up his hand to form a very familiar hand sign. I will have to help a bit more. Taiju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 20 additional Narutos appeared, effectively doubling the workforce at the bridge. It didn't take long for them to spread out on the bridge and help where he could. His lively spirit also affected Tazuna. who only was that more determined to finish. The bridge, same afternoon at the market. Tazuna and Naruto were walking down the main street of the biggest town in the area. In all honesty, it didn't deserve the name town or road. It was a long dust trail where shacks and cracked stone buildings stood along the sides. The people didn't look much better. They were all walking around very carefully, afraid that their life could be stolen at a second's notice. They wore clothes, if you could call it that, which looked to be made up of sacks and mold infested cloth. The worst were the children. They were at every corner and store opening, begging to just get the tiniest attention and food. It reminded him of the year after he was kicked out of the orphanage, before he had gotten the apartment he was living in. Now he shuddered a bit. What is the meaning of this? Tazuna didn't have to look to know what he was talking about. Nami no Kuni have been like this since Gata took over. That man can't be anyone but the devil, Naruto said angrily. I will definitely key. Naruto was interrupted when he felt hands go through his ninja bag. Whoever did it had chosen the absolute worst time to do it. Naruto swirled around to see a middle-aged man. As soon as he caught a glimpse of Naruto's eye, he was scared out of his pants and tried to run away, but Naruto was angry and he had to take it out on somebody. He grabbed the shirt of the man. You do not steal from me, thief, and threw the man down the street, where he continued skirting before he was stopped abruptly by a brick wall. Naruto scoffed and continued after Tazuna, who had walked into a store to look for ingredients for tonight's meal. He wasn't happy with what he saw. It was the same as the street and the town. The shelves were close to empty, with only a few foodstuffs scattered here and there, and they didn't look fresh. Quite the opposite. Naruto sighed and became only more determined to see that this country was set free from Gatu, and that said man was burned in the deepest pits of hell for what he had done. He continued after Tazuna, who continued out of the store after paying over prices on the scarcely collected wares. They hadn't walked more than a few meters before Naruto felt tucking in his bag again. Not again, he thought as he swirled around, planning to chew out whoever was stupid enough to try and steal from him. He stopped in his tracks as he saw who was standing in front of him, a little girl who couldn't have been more than 8 years old. Please give me, she said, holding her hands out. Naruto blinked a couple of times before going through his bag and found a few pieces of candy. The girl's eyes lit up with joy. She was just about to run off when Naruto stopped her with a smile, squatting down to her level. Hey, what is your name? The girl blushed slightly. Amaya. Naruto kept smiling. Hey Amaya, my name is Naruto. Want to see something cool? He asked, which in response got a tentatively nod. He closed his hand together, activating his Shoton powers, making it glow slightly out of the cracks. When he opened it, a miniature figure of a puppy was standing on his hands. The girl went wide-eyed. Naruto just kept smiling and handed the figurine to the girl. Here, you take it. It's a lucky charm. As long as you have it, good things will happen to you. Just believe in it. She reached out and took the dog, inspecting it all over. She looked back at the blonde with tears in her eyes. She bowed deeply. Arigato, Naruto knees, and she cried out before hugging him deeply. Naruto was taken by surprise, but quickly returned the hug. When they were done, she looked at him with big puppy eyes. Will you be back so you can meet all my friends? I'm sure I will. Just keep an eye out for me, Naruto said with his kind smile on the lips. She nodded and ran into the crowd, surely to find to show her friends her new toy. That was very kind of you, Tazuna noted. Yeah, they remind me of myself when I was little, Naruto responded before starting to head out of the town. It piqued Tazuna's curiosity, but he could see he wouldn't get more of an answer for now. Evening at Tazuna's house. When Sasuke and Sakura came back to Tazuna's house that evening, they looked extremely exhausted. Naruto raised an eyebrow. It seems Sakura is actually trying. I'm glad she actually listened to me. Naruto smirked at Sasuke. Worked hard at Team Sasuke scoffed at him, not having the strength to come with a longer answer. Sakura was just about to come to the defense of her beloved Sasuke-kun when Tsunami's voice sounded from the living room. Dinner is ready, come and eat. The Konoha genin didn't need any more to be said as they ran as fast as their bodies could carry them to the dinner table. It wasn't a gourmet meal, but it was not bad either at all. They all took their places, broke off the eating chops, Itadakamasu, and began eating like wolves. Sakura eating like a fine wolf. After dinner, when they had some tea, Sakura was looking around the kitchen and found a picture hanging on the wall. It showed Inari, Tsunami, and Tazuna, and one other person, it seemed like, but he was ripped out of it. Ano, why are you hanging a torn picture? It brought all the attention of all the shinobi to the mentioned picture. Inari-kun was watching this during the dinner the entire time. This torn part looks like someone intentionally tore away the person who was there. She continued. It silenced the whole room. Finally, Tsunami, who was doing the dishes, spoke up. It's my husband. The shinobi waited for her to continue, not satisfied with the answer, but she didn't. Tazuna spoke up. He was the man known as the hero of this town. He didn't get to say more before Inari left his seat, walking towards the door. Inari, where are you going? Tsunami asked, but he had already left. She walked after him, and when she opened the door, she turned around looking at Tazuna. Father, I told you not to talk about him in front of Inari, she said a little harshly before she'd exited the door. Tazuna sighed deeply. Team 7 was watching him closely. He looked around on them all. Inari had a father. He wasn't related to, they were very close, like a real father and son. They were a real father and son. He looked back up at the picture, seeing a laughing Inari in the middle. Inari used to laugh a lot back then, but Tazuna began to sob lightly, shocking the shinobi. They had the impression of Tazuna of man who didn't really show any vulnerable feelings. Well, everyone but Naruto, who had learned some about their client. On the bridge, Tazuna bit back some tears. He changed after what happened to his father. His name was Kaiza. Tazuna paused again. The word courage was forever taken away from the people of this island and Inari. After that day, Tazuna went on about explaining how Inari and Kaiza had met, how he had taught him about living his life so he didn't regret a thing. He then went about telling them how a big storm had hit the island, breaking the dam, and how Kaiza had saved them all. Then his voice turned into venom as he spoke of how Gata had taken over the island and how Kaiza didn't want to back down, how he was executed in front of the whole town to set an example, and that after that day Inari was changed. He didn't believe in heroes and courage. He was depressed and cried alone in his room. After he finished, the whole room was quiet. Team 7 had troubled looks on their faces. How horrible it came quiet from Sakura. The others nodded in agreement. Tazuna then looked up at them all with a determined look in his eyes. And that's why I want to build that bridge for the people of Wave 4. Kaiza, and for Inari, I want to break us free from the rule of Gato. I want Inari to be happy again. That determination was also brought up in the shinobi, and we will help you achieve it. We won't let Gato lay a hand on you. Count on it, Naruto declared. Sasuke smirked. You count on it. I'm not going to be outdone by you, Dobhai. We can't let the people of Wave suffer anymore, Sakura said. Kakashi took a look on the clock. Guys, I think it's about time to hit the racks. We still have to train you guys hard the next few days to get you ready. You don't want to let Tazuna down, do you? None of the genin did, and quickly made their way to bed. The next few days didn't go very different. Kakashi came and helped guard Tazuna, and in the meantime had handed over a jutsu scroll on Futon Rapusho. He had said it would work well with his Rakugo Shuriken, and Naruto wasn't one to deny his sensei. Naruto was also making progress on the water balloon exercise, now progressed to the rubber ball exercise it had taken time to finish the first part of the exercise, only finally completing it when Kakashi had said he had spun it against his natural flow. After that it had gone easy, but this next step took so much more power that he hadn't even punctured the ball. Sakura and Sasuke were also progressing, both now able to walk up and down the tree without faltering and just starting to learn to stay still on the surface. It was going slowly but surely. As for the bridge, it had gone faster with Naruto's clones helping, but more and more workers had quit, and only 7 of them remained now, most of them already having lost their families to Gata. They didn't have anything to lose. Naruto had also been back to see Amaya and her friends, telling them stories and of course making more pretty lucky charms as they called them. Naruto was starting to grow attached to the children, especially when they all called him Naruto-nies, and it was at least one thing he was going to miss in Nami. At Tazuna's house 2 evenings before Zabuza's return, when they came back that evening, the genin were rather battered up. Even Naruto, who had been working hard on the rubber ball, and were delighted when they saw another homemade meal was waiting for them. They ate as much as they could to recharge their energy so they could give it all the next day. Tazuna stopped eating and looked up at Kakashi. The bridge is almost complete. It's thanks to you guys. The old drunk's daughter looked up from her meal. But don't push yourself so much, the genin just smiled. Tazuna continued, I wanted to ask this before, but why are you still here even when I lied about the request details? Kakashi folded his hands and closed his eyes. Not doing right when you know it is right is a coward's way. There are no weak soldiers under a valiant commander. They're the teachings of the Yoname Hokage, our previous Hokage. That's when Inari spoke up. Why? It caught all the genin attention. Inari stood up and slammed his hand down on the table. Why are you trying so hard to end up dead? You can't beat Gata's men even if you train, no matter how hard you try and say those good-looking words. Weak people are going to lose against strong people. Naruto glared at that. Shut up, you don't know the first thing about us. That silenced Inari, who were on the verge of tears. Here you are living a relatively good life. You have mother that loves and cooks for you, and a grandfather who tries to save this country. And what do? You cry and mope about how bad it is. You don't realize how good you have it compared to other people. Have you seen how the children in the town live? And for that matter, you don't know what it's like to be hated in your own village for something that is out of your control. You don't know what it's like to be beaten and kicked out of shops and forced to go through the garbage for food. You think your life is bad? Fine, but don't just sit around and moan about it. Do something about it. Fight back. Don't be a coward. Inari visibly shook as Naruto glared heated at him. Naruto rose from the table and headed for the door. Sakura went on alert. There, Naruto, where are you going? Out to train? Naruto all but mumbled, and with that Naruto stormed out the front door with tears in his eyes. Inari stormed out the other side of the house, out the back door. The civilians and the genin of Team 7 were shocked of what Naruto had said. Kakashi-sensei, Naruto's life couldn't have been that bad, right? He has to be lying to get attention, Sakura asked. Kakashi shook his head. No, everything he said was true. Naruto was kicked out of the orphanage when he was 4 years old. and was forced to living on the streets for 12 months before some ANBU found him and took him to the Hokage. The Sanding gave Naruto an apartment, but he has had to learn everything for himself and was constantly being beaten and kicked out of stores, and that's the down-watered version, he said, shocking everyone in the room. Tazuna looked down on his half-empty plate. So that's what he meant by that. They reminded him of himself as a child. It seems to me that they got a good life, compared to what he had to live through later that night at the docks outside the house. Inari was sitting on the edge of the docks looking out over the ocean. He could see the bridge his grandfather was trying to build. He heard footsteps behind him but didn't bother to see who it was. "May I join you?" a male voice sounded. Inari guessed it was the Konoha Jounin who had arrived a few days earlier. He shrugged. Kakashi walked over to Inari and sat beside him. "Naruto didn't say those things out of spite, you know." Inari didn't react, but he continued anyway. "He is just stubborn." Still no reaction. He looked over the ocean. "We heard about your father from Tazuna-san. Naruto is the same as you in that way. He didn't have a father when he was young. To be truthful, he doesn't know what it feels like to have parents. He also didn't have a single friend growing up." That caught Inari's attention. He looked up on the Jounin as he continued, "However, I have never seen him grow timid, get sulky, or cry. He has always been desperate to make people recognize him." He now looked down on Inari with what Inari could only guess was a smile on his lips, and he's able to put his life on the line for that dream. He's probably bored of crying by now. That got Inari thinking, remembering what his father was like. That's why he knows the true meaning of being strong. "Just like your father, Naruto might be the one who understands you the most. What Naruto said to you before, those are probably the words he's been telling himself over and over again." Kakashi rose from where he had sat. "If anything, just don't hold a grudge against him. He wasn't trying to be mean." And with that said, he went back to the house, leaving Inari to think about what he had heard the following morning in the forest. "Are you okay? Hello, are you there?" Naruto's eyes slammed open, surprising the person who had tried to wake him up. Quickly reacting, he jumped up into his taijutsu stance, but relaxed upon seeing that it was an ordinary teenage girl looking at him. He looked around him, finding himself in the same clearing they had been training in the last few days. "I must have fallen asleep out here." Haku took a better look at the now obvious ninja in front of her. She noticed his Konoha attire. He was with Sharingan Kakashi the other day. He must be the one with Shoten. She didn't show her worry, but simply smiled at him. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to surprise you." Naruto smiled back at her. "On, no problem. I didn't mean to jump like that. Reflexes, you know." She nodded at that. "Is that attire real? Are you a real shinobi?" she asked, completing her act as an unknowing civilian. He grinned back at that, pushing his chest up. "Yes, I am a shinobi of Konoha. I will protect her with my life." The girl giggled at the way Naruto was acting. Naruto looked at her again. "By the way, what are you doing out here so early?" "Picking herbs," she answered nicely as she turned away, resuming looking through the plants on the ground. "Herbs?" Naruto asked. She turned her head and smiled at him. "That's right, it's to cure injuries and illness. One of my friends has gotten hurt, so I'm out here looking for herbs to cure him. I can help you. I still have some time before I have to be back to breakfast," he said, helping her going through the plants. He had gotten a bit of knowledge of herbs from his reading, but it really hadn't been anything he had read up on. They picked through the plants for a while, then the girl spoke up again. "By the way, what are you doing out here so early?" He threw her one of his big smiles. "Training." "And why are you training?" "I want to become stronger." "But you look strong enough already." "No, I want to become stronger and stronger." She was silent for a time, resuming picking through the forest floor. "Are you doing it for someone else or for yourself?" "Well, I think when I just graduated I was doing it for myself, but then Iruka-sensei acknowledged me, and so did Kakashi-sensei and Sakura-chan, and I guess Sasuke-team did too." He paused. "I think now I'm doing it just as much for them as I'm doing it for myself." She looked up at him. "That's good. I believe a person is able to become truly strong when they wish to protect someone they cherish." Naruto got a thoughtful look in his eyes. "I think you're right. I understand that." She nodded at him. She took her basket, now filled with herbs. "Thank you. I think you will become strong." She began walking out of the clearing. "By the way, I'm a boy," she said, walking away, leaving Naruto stunned. "But he is beautiful." "She can't be a boy. You're lying," he said before he could stop himself. She stammered. She sighed. "Yes, I am." "Why would you lie about something like that?" "Because of Gadua's men aren't always polite." Naruto was disgusted by that. "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone." She smiled back at him. "Goodbye. I really hope I don't have to fight you when the time comes."